Now, the rest of the story.
Oh. All right, welcome back. 7 degrees out. That's Fahrenheit for those of you that go by Celsius, but 7 degrees when I got up this morning. And in the sun, it's actually not that bad. But we are out here on one of Ryan's cornfields, and we're making some progress. That's the big thing we're aiming for right now, is just trying to make some progress. And when Dad comes back across here, you'll be able to hear that chopping head really grinding away. It sounds like a hurricane. You can really hear it in the tractor cab. You can tell it's doing a pretty nice job as far as cutting the stalks down real nice and low. It's grinding up all the residue really nice. No joke, those knives running on that head account for about half the overall noise that machine is making right now. So this is what we're actually harvesting. The stalks are still very, very juicy. So you can see my fingers are wet. And this is what that head does. As the stalks are being pulled down into the head, it's grinding them off into manageable pieces. They will deteriorate faster. But, like our agronomist pointed out, it's not grinding them up to the point where it's just flat out confetti. Because when you get confetti, it tends to not want to stay here. And you get a really good strong wind, which I'm sure we're full of potential for getting a bunch of nasty weather yet. But what you have to worry about is all this blowing into the neighbor's field. And you guys want a good example of tar spot? This field was hit with it. Everything was hit with tar spot. I don't know anybody that doesn't have it. Basically it boils down to fungicide. If you used it, did you use it? This field I'm pretty sure was aerial applied fungicide, and then if any of you are fans of my brother's channel, you know that Andrew went through with the self-propelled, that New Holland self-propelled machine, and side dressed this farm. From the sounds of it, I don't know what the yields are doing. I've been in that machine all day. I say all day, it's 11 o'clock, but it's pretty much been a full day already, it seems. So they're calling for 45 degrees tomorrow, and as weird as it sounds, I almost don't want that. The ground is firmed up. I mean, we got snow under here, but the snow had actually melted off enough yesterday from that snowstorm we had the other night, which was actually kind of a freak storm because no one was calling for that when we got it. But what I'm liking, and what Ryan is really liking, is this is no-till. It's going to be planted into soybeans next year. And the big perk of having this chopping corn head is that it's actually processing this material a lot better than our head. Our head just has the rolls, don't get me wrong. I do like our head. I really do like those 360-degree chain rolls. The big difference is, if you want to look at the stalks, I'll just sit right down here. These are what the stalks look like when they're hit with that Capello. I really didn't look at the rolls too close. I'm pretty sure, I don't know if they're Calmers or if they're Calmer lookalikes, but Calmers are known for making confetti, and it really doesn't seem like that's what we're dealing with. But the big difference I'm seeing is that you go through, and here's a very good example of the plant is being cut off, but slices this off here, but it doesn't really grind up, or like the 360-degree chain rolls advertising was, is that it explodes the stalk. And that's really what we have. So the standing stalks here that do not go through the corn head, they really don't get processed. So by going through with those 360-degree, those finger types where they destroy the stalks, what they do is the part of the stalk that doesn't go through the head at all, this piece gets just ground up, and all the insides here gets exposed to the elements, and these stalks are pretty much brittle. I mean, I actually can't move that out of the ground right now, so ooh. Of course, the ground being frozen might be working against me, but that's the only thing I'm really noticing different between this Capello corn head compared to our John Deere. So I'm not really sure. I don't know how long we're actually running this Capello. I think we only had it for so long. But here's the dreaded kernel we lost. And this machine does have the hydraulic deck plates on it, and that actually helps you control how wide your plates are, so you're allowing just the stalk through, so the stalk is able to slide through, reduce the amount of residue that's going into the machine, which is an issue with those grain saver belts that we have. I mean, I'll say it. I mean, it's kind of irritating having that much corn residue going into the machine. It's a very big difference, a very clear difference, running this head over our John Deere. Let me get back inside here. So, what I started to say with it getting warmer tomorrow, it was single digits this morning, and they're calling for 45 degrees tomorrow. As weird as it sounds, I'd rather it stay colder out, because at least the ground is firm. If it warms up to 45, we actually got to worry about that ground turning into mud. Because it is soft, it is actually letting us get around right now. This field is the one that Dad slid into the woods last year with combine and soybeans. If you guys can see through the dirty tractor window, but it was actually right there. He lost traction on frozen ground that was thawing out, and he lost traction on his front tires, and he slid down and he went right into the woods. That was a pretty exhilarating day. I don't really want to do that again, and that's largely why Dad went and already opened up the field up. The corn residue I think is huge too, because it does give you something else there for traction. Because soybeans, there's hardly any really stalks, or there's no leaves or anything left, so it's pretty much the plant, bare dirt, and a little bit of the stems that you're throwing out the back, and pods really don't do anything. So this is actually kind of keeping the ground insulated, on top of the fact that we have snow underneath it, and it is kind of giving us something for the tires to grab. The goal is to get this field done. This isn't a super huge field, but it is a time-consuming field because of the multiple fingers on it. We actually have 1, 2, 3. You can't see the third one. So Dad's working on the bigger finger right now. The goal is to check the yield on the straight back and forth passes along the road. We want to check those for the yield contest, and we're waiting on the weigh wagon currently. So that was managed pretty highly. It's a different hybrid than what is on the fingers. This is a workhorse hybrid that's basically planted with the intentions to yield. And the racehorse hybrid that is planted up there, that is a different soil type, and it lays so much better. We can manage it so much better. That is a racehorse hybrid. So that is meant to really yield. And I got 25,000 pounds on the cart right now. This scale is actually pretty super cool. And the goal is to keep Dad moving. I do worry about compaction with this cart just a little bit. We talked to the guys from Unverfirth, and the big floater tires on the back end really do help alleviate that. I don't think any amount of tires really cures that. You could go with tracks, but I got a love-hate relationship with tracks as a whole, not just on the cart or on the skid steer or whatever else. It's just the new 8RX tractors, John Deere tractors. John Deere came out with the 4-track design on an 8R series. Not entirely sure how sold I am on them. I was watching a preview on it where a guy was ripping. Was he chisel plowing? Was he planting? It doesn't matter. But he was stopped and he went to go turn. And the part I really didn't like about it, I thought would cause a lot of excess wear, is when you have a track on the front of the machine and you go to turn like this with that track sitting still. You're moving that whole track, so you're, for one, causing excess wear to me. If that track isn't moving, you're just sliding it across the ground, so that face of the tracks that are on the ground are, you know, anywhere is wear, and you move it at all, that is causing wear, at least in my opinion. So you guys can watch Dad a little bit. I like tires. For our applications, I think tires are the way to go. You really don't see a whole lot of guys using tracks. Maybe you do, for hay, making hay. With this, I definitely see using the 80. Useful. Using the 82 for making hay. We had to pull the duals off, but I gotta back up. And say we get down this easy running like it is, that green tank gets filled really quick. So that's enough of me talking for now. There's about 1,000,007 things that are going on that we are trying to do. Quick wrap up for this video. Between getting harvest done, tillage is actually an afterthought at this point. I don't know how much, if any, tillage we are really going to get done. You see that front end is awfully light. The combine's kind of bouncing back and forth. But here, that's about how much room I have to work with. So tillage is an afterthought. We have hay to haul in yet. We have corn fodder to round bale yet. Brittany tried to cut it the other night and she got caught in that snowstorm. Actually to the point where my willingness to mess with a lot of that stuff is gone, and I'm actually to the point where I'm thinking just go through, rake up what we are able to rake and bale it. At the local auction here, hay auction, corn fodder is going for $71 a bale. I've never seen prices that high. I thought last week was bad. Last week was $61 a bale, and I know of at least one person that I'm friends with. He's saying exactly that when it was over $60 a bale for corn fodder. He said that he'd go buy junk hay before he'd feed out $60 corn fodder bales. But it's just the weather we have. So we got that. I actually have some ground that I actually want to brush hog yet. Oh, it's not brush hog, rhino or cut with that 4155. And it's basically by whatever the weather allows us to do at this point. And that's, unfortunately, that's how a lot of this stuff is going. It's really what the weather lets us do. And harvest is priority. Harvest gets, well, the corn and soybeans harvest is actually our bread and butter. That puts the food on the table, so you gotta have your priorities, of course. So I'm just rambling. I gotta go. Until next time, or until later this afternoon, take care, take it easy, keep in touch. Stay warm, obviously. I mean, the temperature fluctuations are crazy. So I'll talk to you later.